What's going on, fellow rock and rollers? Mr. Jim here. We are going to be doing rubber band guitars, homemade rubber band guitars, using 3 different ways to do it. And we're going to show you how to really do this really simply. And then, in addition to that, we're going to play a little bit of it for you, and you'll decide for yourself which one sounds the best. I wanted to do a few different versions of it just to see which one sounds the best, not necessarily which one looks the best, but necessarily sounds the best. So super cool. Let's get into it. And so the first one that I did actually was this one. And so I just took a piece of plywood and I hammered in some nails. And you could tell I didn't break any of them. So the other guitars, rubber band guitars I made, one of them I had to break the rubber band in order to kind of make it sound cool. But this one, all I did was put one side of the rubber band on one side and the other sort of end of the rubber band on the other side, and held together with nails with different musical notes. Right there. That's another one. That's another note. That's another one. That's a low one. And then the last one. You could hear it faintly. It's not as loud as some of the other ones. I thought it'd be kind of a neat science experiment to do this. And they've changed notes here and there over time. It's really about how far away they're spaced or how close they're spaced, and how thick or thin the rubber bands are will give you the different sort of tones and sounds. Really fun. What I'm going to do is take a hammer, find some nails, put them at I just put them at random places on here. I didn't actually measure, well, if I put it 3 centimeters apart, what will that musical note be? I just sort of did it. Okay, I feel like this is cool. I just kind of eyeballed it, had some fun with it. An old piece of plywood that wasn't going to be doing anybody any good, and made an instrument out of it. Pretty cool. All right, and the second one that I did, I really like a lot. This one involves a little piece of cardboard that I found. It's actually from one of those candy heart packages that you get around maybe for Halloween, but also for Valentine's Day. And I used it as like a bridge to hold up the rubber bands, as you can see. And I taped that down and arched it a little bit. And then all I did was found some tacks, as you can see on this side. I broke each rubber band, and then I sort of string it across, and then across the top of the tissue box, and then under, on the other side, on each side. I just took tacks, I taped it, and then duct taped them down so they didn't just fly off. Because tissue boxes they're sturdy, but they're not crazy sturdy like a piece of wood would be. And sure enough, it sounds like a bass. The secret is that you actually sometimes have to hold this down, the one side down, in order to get a louder sound. It's kind of neat, right? It uses the tissue box hole as like the sound hole. Different than what we have on the rubber band wood guitar that I made. Sort of pretty fun. Okay, so that's number 2. And the third one I didn't even do anything really to this except take an empty tissue box, and I just put rubber bands across the top and around all the way through the bottom. And this might be my favorite one. I didn't really have to do anything. You could do this at home. Musical note, another musical note, another musical note. It's pretty loud too. Pretty loud. That's more like a bass, but put them all at once, get a really interesting sound. So just kind of fun making some homemade instruments that can make sounds. I'm going to play you something really quickly with each one by one, on the loopstation and the microphone. So the first one we're going to do is the first one that I made, which is this. This one's going to get a little bit of a harder sound to come through because it's not as loud, but I'm going to run a bass line through it right now. So the loop station, it's got it going through. I'm going to take another note that I can find and make it a little bit louder. And there's 2 notes going through there. Pretty cool. How about this one? All right, and what's really neat too is if I hold down one of the rubber bands and I pluck on different sides, it makes different kinds of sounds, which is really cool. Different kinds of notes depending on where I hold it, just like you would hold it down a string on a fret. So let's try something there. And you might not be able to hear that, but it's really cool. And so what I was doing was this. Right? Going up and down on the string. Really cool. All right, so here's the second improv we're going to do with the second one that I made, using the tacks, the little bridge, breaking the rubber band in half, using tape to hold everything together. And this side's bent a little bit because remember, their tissue boxes are only so sturdy. If I were to be using a cardboard box that was thicker, that might hold up a little bit better. But at any rate, you still get some musical notes. We'll do a completely different rhythm. This is going to be louder because you can already tell it's louder. Just fun. Let's try this at home. How cool is that, right? Making music with a tissue box and rubber bands. Pretty simple. And that's a little rhythm we got going for you there. That's our repeat. And the last one is the third one I did. Probably the easiest one to do. I should have started with this one. But this is the third one that I did. The notes are more definitive than the other two guitars, sort of rubber band guitars that I made. So let's try this one. Definitely louder. So we're gonna go doom, 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 and that's gonna be our rhythm. It's like a science experiment, right? How about this, all of them? Makes a completely different sounds. It almost sounds like something out of a horror movie, right? This. Let's try that. And you could really hear that coming through. That beat's pretty cool. Just by strumming all of them at the same time. Pretty cool. Thanks so much for tuning in on this. You never know what to expect. So we got the wooden rubber band guitar, the first tissue box guitar that one of the strings, well, strings, I want to call them strings, but rubber bands sort of broke, and that's okay. That happens. And this, just is the simple one, the third tissue box guitar with rubber bands. Pretty sweet stuff. Thanks so much for tuning in. Peace and love. Thumbs up at AK, Cowabunga, and rock and roll. And we'll see you next time for who knows what. Keep on tuning in. This time it's homemade guitars with rubber bands. Super cool. Bye-bye.